Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you found your way here. My name is Theodore Langford, though nobody calls me that. I am the librarian here at Langford Manor, a large and quietly contented country house in the English countryside, and it is my very great pleasure to welcome you for the very first time to the Cosy Library. The Cosy Library is the largest room in the manor, and I think the finest, though I may be biased. The shelves run floor to ceiling on almost every wall, filled with thousands of books, old travel journals, collections of tales, weathered atlases, novels whose pages have softened with the years. A fire burns most evenings in the stone fireplace, and beside it, right here, where I am sitting now, is a long oak writing desk with a brass lamp above it, and a small trolley that the kitchen sends up each evening with a teapot and a plate of biscuits, which I consider one of the more civilised arrangements in my life. I spend my evenings here among the books, and I have discovered something over time, that a gently told story, the right kind of story, has a curious power to quiet the mind and carry a person softly towards sleep. That is what this library is for. That is what I am here for. In the weeks and months ahead, I will take you to all manner of places, from this chair, rain-swept coasts and snowy mountain cabins, sleeper trains crossing the dark hills, misty harbours at evening, quiet lighthouses above a calm sea. Some nights we may not even leave the manor. There are rooms here I think you will come to love as I do. And on the right kind of evening, I may take you down the lantern hall to the map room, or up to the little observatory at the top of the tower, or out to the garden pavilion, when the summer evenings are long and warm. But we will always begin here, in the Cosy Library, and we will always find our way back. Before we begin, a small favour to ask. If you find that these stories help you rest, if the library becomes a place you return to in the evenings, please do subscribe to the channel and leave a like on tonight's episode. Both of those things help new listeners find their way through the door, and that matters very much to me. And do leave a comment. I would love to know, where in the world are you listening tonight? What is the weather like where you are? I find myself genuinely curious. But now let me pour the tea and turn the lamp down a little and tell you the first story. The fire is going well tonight. I built it up earlier this evening with a good oak log at the back and some smaller pieces in front, and it is settled now into that steady, generous rhythm that a fire finds after the first hour. The bright, active flames reduced to something deeper and more even, the coals glowing amber and grey-white, the heat from them reaching across the Persian rug and finding me here at the desk in a continuous warm wave. Outside the tall windows of the library, the night is wet. I could hear the rain on the glass as I came through the lantern hall earlier, a sound I am very fond of. The manor's stone walls, making it faint and rhythmic and entirely safe, a sound that belongs on the outside of things and makes the inside feel more itself for the contrast. I've been sitting here for a little while now, thinking about where to take you first. And I keep returning to a particular kind of place, a place I suspect many of you will know, or will feel you know, as soon as we arrive. A bookshop, an old one, in a small village, on a rainy afternoon. A place where the books go back and back into the warm dark, and the windows are running with rain, and the world outside has gone very soft and grey, and the world inside is amber, and smells of old paper, and there is nowhere you need to be, and nothing you need to do, and the afternoon is entirely your own. Close your eyes, or let your gaze go somewhere soft and unfocused. Take one long, slow breath in, right down to the bottom of your lungs, and let it go. All of it easily and without effort. Good. Let the fire be here, and the lamp be here, and the rain be on the windows. And let me take you somewhere that will feel, I think, very much like coming home. It is a Thursday afternoon in late October, and the rain has been falling since mid-morning. The village is small, the kind of village that exists in the folds of the English countryside, set down in a valley between two low hills, as if placed there by someone who wanted to make sure it would always be sheltered from the north wind, and would always have the stream running through its lower end, and would always feel, from whatever direction you approached it, as if it had been there for a very long time and intended to remain, which it has and which it does. The main street runs from the church at the eastern end to the pub at the western end, a distance of perhaps 300 yards, and along it the usual accumulation of a small English village, a post office that also sells newspapers and groceries, a butcher's with a handwritten board in the window, a tea room that closes at 4, a small hardware shop whose window display has not substantially changed in several years, and the bookshop. The bookshop is between the hardware shop and the tea room, in a building whose age is difficult to determine precisely from the outside, but which gives the impression, through the slight lean of its upper story and the depth of its window, reveals the particular colour of its stone, of having been here longer than anything around it, except perhaps the church. The sign above the door reads Vale Books in simple, hand-painted letters, and in the window a selection of volumes is arranged without great artistry, but with evident care. A few recent novels face out, their covers rain-dimpled behind the old glass, a small stack of local history, a handwritten card propped against the nearest book that reads, "Come in and browse. We don't mind how long." You have come in out of the rain. The bell above the door announces you with a brief high note that disappears into the quiet of the shop almost immediately, absorbed by the books and the low ceiling and the general soft silence of a place that is very full of paper. You lower your umbrella and stand for a moment in the doorway, feeling the warmth of the shop reach you, not the aggressive warmth of central heating, but the gentler, more accumulated warmth of a small room that has had a paraffin heater going all day, and whose walls and shelves and books have been absorbing that warmth since morning, and are now giving it back to anyone who comes in from the cold. The transition from the cold, wet street, to this is a full body event. You feel it in your hands first, and then in your face, and then gradually through your coat as the warmth finds its way to the parts of you the rain reached. The smell of the shop is extraordinary. It is the smell that old bookshops have, and that no other kind of place has. The warm, slightly sweet, faintly vanilla smell of paper that has been aging slowly in a warm room for many years. The particular chemistry of old books, releasing their slow, gentle scent into the air, mixing with a faint petroleum smell of the heater and the damp of your coat and the cold air you brought in from the street, and out of all of these things, creating something that is entirely and unmistakably the smell of this shop, the smell of Vale Books on a rainy Thursday in October, a smell you will carry with you when you leave, and that will come back to you years from now, in moments you do not expect. The shop is not large. The ground floor is one room, divided by a freestanding bookshelf down its centre into two narrow aisles, and the shelves on the walls run floor to ceiling, the highest requiring the wooden stepladder that leans against the far wall beside a hand-lettered sign that says, "Please ask if you'd like to use the ladder." There is a second floor, a low-ceilinged room above, accessible by a steep staircase whose entrance is half hidden by a curtain of dark green wool, and from above you can hear very faintly the sound of someone moving, the soft footfall of the proprietor, perhaps, or another browser who arrived before you and has been up there in the low-ceilinged warmth of the upper room all afternoon, working their way along the shelves with the unhurried absorption of someone who has nowhere else to be. The proprietor is behind the small counter near the door, which is to say she is almost within arm's reach of where you're standing, a woman perhaps in her 60s, with reading glasses on and a thick cardigan, the colour of bracken in autumn, who looks up when the bell sounds and gives you the particular smile of a bookshop owner greeting a browser on a quiet rainy afternoon, warm, unhurried, entirely without pressure. She says good afternoon in a tone that means exactly what it says and nothing else. And then she returns to whatever she was doing at the counter, cataloguing, perhaps, or pricing, or simply reading, and leaves you entirely to yourself, which is the correct and only acceptable response to a person entering a good bookshop. You begin at the nearest shelf, fiction, alphabetical, THEO'S. At eye level, the spines are varied and close together, some thick and some thin, some bright and some faded, paperbacks and hardbacks intermixed in the way of a second-hand collection that has grown organically over many years. The organisation, principled but not rigid, the shelf, breathing with the evidence of real use. You read the spines, slowly, as your eye travels along them, your head tilted slightly. Most pass by. Some stop you, a name you recognise, a title that catches you, a spine whose colour or font or degree of fading suggests something about what might be inside it. You pull one down and read the first paragraph, standing in the aisle with the rain on the window behind you. And the first paragraph is good, and you tuck the book under your arm and continue along the shelf. The rain on the window is doing its particular thing. The glass in this window is old and slightly uneven, and the raindrops running down it do not follow straight lines, but wander, catching on the glasses, irregularities, merging with other drops, taking small detours before resuming their descent. From inside the shop, in the warm amber light of the single overhead bulb and the paraffin heaters glow, the street outside is visible through and between these wandering rivulets as a soft, rain-blurred version of itself. The stone of the buildings opposite darkened to a deep grey, the pavement wet and gleaming, the occasional figure hurrying past with an umbrella or a hood up. The colours of everything deepened and softened by the rain, in the way that rain always deepens and softens the colours of old stone and wet pavement and the dark wood of shop fronts. The world outside is real and ordinary and entirely wet. The world inside is warm and still and smells of books. The glass between them is doing its simple, essential work, and you're on the right side of it. You move to the back of the shop, where the shelves angle slightly, and the light from the single overhead bulb does not quite reach, and the books here are older, their spines more faded, their titles in typefaces that belong to earlier decades, the occasional handwritten spine label where the original has been lost. These are the books that have been in the shop for a long time, the books that have survived the continual turnover of a second-hand shop through some quality of their own, their subject matter, too specialist to sell quickly, or their addition too obscure, or simply the circumstance of never having been in the right hands at the right moment. They wait here, in the dim back of the shop, with the patience that only books have, the patience of something that contains a complete world, and is quite willing to wait indefinitely for the person who needs that world. The paraffin heater ticks and breathes. The rain intensifies briefly on the window. You can hear it pick up, the sound rising from a steady murmur to something more emphatic, drops hitting the glass harder and more frequently, and then it eases again, settling back to its ordinary pace. The October rain doing what October rain does, varying within its general character, never quite stopping, and never quite becoming a downpour, just continuing, just falling, covering the village in its grey and patient curtain, while inside the bookshop the warmth holds, and the books stand in their rows, and the afternoon goes quietly on. There is a chair. You find it at the end of the back aisle, a wooden chair with a cushion on it, a faded cushion in a pattern of small flowers, placed here deliberately for browsers who want to sit with a book before deciding whether to buy it. The chair is entirely genuine. There is no implication in its presence of a time limit or an obligation. It is simply a chair in a bookshop on a rainy afternoon, and it is available. You sit in it. The book under your arm goes open in your lap. The rain speaks against the window. The heater breathes its warmth into the room. The proprietor moves quietly at the front of the shop, and from above comes the very faint sound of the other browser moving along the upper shelves. The shop is entirely itself, doing what it does, asking nothing of you. You read for a while. Not quickly. This is not the reading of someone working through a to-do list. Not the reading of duty or obligation. This is the reading that is available only in certain conditions. A warm room, no urgency, a book that is giving you what you need. The rain making the outside world feel appropriately distant, and the inside world appropriately close. The words on the page do their work. The sentences arrive and are received. The story, whatever story it is, begins to build its world inside the larger world of the shop and the rainy afternoon. And the two worlds, the one on the page and the one around you, coexist in the easy way. They coexist when you're reading well, each one enriching the other. The rain outside, becoming the rain in the story. The warmth of the shop, becoming the warmth of wherever the story is set. Time passes in the way. Time passes in bookshops, which is to say, it passes without your noticing it passing. The rain continues. The heater ticks. The proprietor makes tea. At some point you hear the small sounds of it from the front of the shop, the particular acoustics of a kettle and cups in a small room. And after a while, she appears at the end of the aisle with 2 cups and sets, one on the shelf beside your chair, without comment, with only the small smile that says, "You look like you might want one." The tea is strong and hot and exactly right, in a mug that is a little too large and has a chip on the rim and is perfect. You hold it with both hands and let the warmth of it move into your palms, and you look up from your book for a moment and look at the rain on the window and the books on the shelves and the low ceiling and the amber light of the single bulb, and you breathe in the smell of the shop, the warm paper smell, the heater smell, the faint damp of your coat, and you think, here, this is it. This is exactly it. The afternoon deepens toward evening. The light through the window goes from the dark grey of a rainy afternoon to the darker grey of a rainy early evening. And in the shop, the single bulb seems warmer and more golden as the light outside fails. The amber warmth of the interior becoming more pronounced, more of a contrast, more its own thing. The proprietor has put a second lamp on at the front of the shop, a small table lamp on the counter, and its light mingles with the overhead bulb to give the shop a doubled warmth. 2 amber sources, creating a room that seems to glow from within, that from the street outside would look through the rain, dark glass, like an illustration of everything the word cosy is supposed to mean. You are inside it. You are warm and still, and your book is in your hands, and the tea is nearly done, and the rain is on the window, and the heater is breathing its warmth, and the shop is all around you, with its thousands of books, every one of them patient, every one of them complete, waiting in the amber dark. Let the shop hold you now. Let the rain be outside, and the warmth be inside, and the books be all around you, in their patient rows, asking nothing, offering everything, filling the air with their slow and gentle smell. Let your body be the weight it is heavy with the afternoon, heavy with the warmth, heavy with the good kind of tiredness that comes from sitting still, somewhere comfortable, for a long time, and letting the world be what it is, without requiring anything of it. Let the rain speak against the window, in its steady, ordinary way, and let the heater breathe. Let the books stand in their shelves, and let the afternoon become evening, in the way it always does gradually, without drama, the light going and the warmth staying, and the shop becoming more itself as the dark comes down outside. The book is still in your hands, but your eyes are closing, not fighting it. There is nothing to fight, no reason to stay awake. The afternoon having offered everything it had to offer, and the evening being for rest, for the long, slow, unhurried rest of a body that has been warm and still, and given exactly what it needed. The rain on the window is the last sound, steady and patient, and entirely right. The shop is warm around you. The chair is soft beneath you. The tea is done. The books are here. Let it all go quiet now. Let the afternoon dissolve into evening, and the evening into the dark that comes after. The good dark, the restoring dark, the dark that a warm room, and a rainy window, and a bookshop smell, and a cup of tea, and a book in your hands, on a Thursday afternoon in October, makes completely and absolutely safe. Sleep now. The rain is on the window. The books are in their shelves. The shop is warm and still and waiting, as it always waits, for tomorrow's browsers, and tomorrow's rainy afternoon, and tomorrow's person who comes in out of the cold and stands in the doorway and feels the warmth arrive and knows, without being able to say quite why, that this is exactly where they needed to be. I will leave you there in the warmth of the bookshop, with the rain on the glass and the books all around you. That was the first story from the Cosy Library at Langford Manor. There will be many more. I hope you will come back. Sleep well. Good night.